All right, let's get to our spotlighting card today. Remember, I am featuring old techniques that I have done in techniques classes. And I'm going to start with a piece of mint macaron cardstock that measures 5.5 by 8.5. I'm going to fold that in half, and I always score it at 4 1/4 so that it folds really well. Okay, so then we're going to take our Ornate Garden Specialty Designer Series paper, and that's going to be layered onto here. Now this is really pretty, but look at the back side. This is why it's called a specialty paper, because it's got that gold accent in it. So we're going to take our adhesive, and I've got my old snail adhesive handy just in case I run out. But anyway, we're going to lay that just down the middle. I've cut it at 2 by 5.5. And we'll try to get that as straight as possible on there. So that's just down the middle. Then we're going to take a piece of 3 by 4 1/4 Whisper White cardstock. And our flower, and I can't remember what the stamp set it's called, but it's in that Ornate Garden suite. And we're going to stamp that in Early Espresso on our Whisper White cardstock. Oops. Okay. Then just want to make sure it all fits on there. Beautifully done, right? It stamps up so nice. And then what we're going to do is take one of our squares dies. And if you would see my dies, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go to Stampin' Storage next week when they have their magnet cards on sale because I clearly need some help organizing my squares. So anyway, I believe I have taken the second smallest. So here's the smallest, and I think this is the second smallest. And I am going to lay that on and cut out that square from our design. And then I took the next biggest size and I cut that out of mint macaron. So what we're going to do is crank that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which I've already done. And by the magic of television, you can see, and I've covered up all my stuff here, so I hope I can, here. You can see now that I've got my square cut out. So the spotlighting part of this is when we take this piece, and only this piece, and color it so that it highlights it and spotlights it for, just so that it sticks out a little bit on your project. So it's going to get colored with, I'm going to do it with some Stampin' Blends, but I'm also going to watercolor a little bit, and I'll explain that when I get to that. So we're going to take this little square, and I'm going to start with Calypso Coral Dark. And the reason I'm doing that, and I just want to talk to you about this paper again. This paper is so pretty with the florals, and it uses terracotta tile for the kind of pinkish red in there. So terracotta tile is the actual color, but since we don't have a terracotta, or I don't have a terracotta tile Stampin' Blends, Calypso Coral is pretty close. I am happy to be able to use Calypso Coral instead. So I'm going to go and highlight several spots of my flower where the lines are on these teeny little flowers, because if you notice, those are the flowers here that are terracotta tile. So we're going to just highlight those areas because those are the spots on the DSP that is also dark. So if that makes sense, we're trying to mimic that DSP a little bit. And then we'll take our Calypso Coral Light, and then we're just going to go over and over that and color that in. And then we'll have some dark areas of shading on those flowers. And then we, if you see like a line of color where that dark was, then you just keep going over it. These are designed to blend the color together. So keep going over it so that it doesn't have stark lines of dark color, but so that it's got just a nice blending feel to it. You can even leave the tips of some of the flowers white, and I've said that in some of my other videos before. That was a tip by Tammy Conan. She's a demonstrator and went to school for art, so she knows what she's talking about. So you can leave little tips of the petals white so that it mimics what a sun shining on those flowers would be. All right, so I've got those complete, and I want to see, I'm going to put this back where it belongs so I can kind of see what I've got going on here. All right, so here we've got some flower, bigger flower, a little bit of daisy there. We'll do that all in yellow. And the bumblebee color is similar to crushed curry in our catalog, but neither one come in Stampin' Blends. So this is where I'm going to take my clear black and create a palette of color with my bumblebee ink pad. And then we're going to take our good old standby, the blender pen, and we're going to highlight areas of these flowers with that blender pen and then color in. It'll get lighter as you use the color from the black. So we'll just kind of highlight some darker areas. So we'll do two different coloring stamping technique today. And then that way, if you're not familiar with either one, you're learning two things new in addition to our spotlighting technique. Now, one other thing that you can do if you're doing some watercoloring is you can fill in all of these and not worry about the dark and the light, but then you can go back and highlight those with a little bit darker. You know what I mean? So you can do kind of an overall lighter background, and then you can go in and fill in to get some highlighted dark areas, if that makes sense. All right, so we have adjusted to not having a bumblebee or a crushed curry Stampin' Blend. See? And then you just clean that off, and then it's ready to use again. Now finally, the mint macaron, we'll take the dark and we'll go in and highlight areas of the leaf. There's not a whole lot of the leaf sticking out there, but we will color it in to give it some more color, and then go in and do more of an overall finish with your light mint macaron. So if you're watching today, thank you for watching. If you're watching later, make sure to say you're watching on the replay so that I can see we're here. And once we've got that piece ready to go, then we're going to adhere that to our square that's just a little bit bigger. And now we're going to go back to this piece, adhere that to our card. That's just going to go right in the middle. And then we're going to take this piece and find out again how it fits in there, just like that. And you can do it a couple different ways. You can leave it flat, which is what I'm going to do, or you can pop it up with dimensionals. And I am not even going to use a sentiment on the front of this because I just want to let it do its thing. Sometimes, all we've been using lately on our virtual classes are sentiments. So I thought it would be kind of nice just to leave it sentiment free this time. And you saw that in one of the Christmas cards too. Then we're going to take the bumblebee ribbon, and I don't see a very good scissors here. I don't know where my snips went. Must be in my other workspace. So we're going to use one of my old favorite ribbon scissors that we used to sell. Got to hold on to the good stuff, right? Whether it retires or not. And then I'm going to take this ribbon and just go over and over around 3 fingers that are spread out just a little bit. So it goes around like 4 times or so. So we're going to snip that off. And then I took another piece that is maybe 4 or 5 inches. And I'm going to wrap that around the middle. Got to dress this card up a little bit. I mean, it's cute. But, you know, ribbon always helps. So we'll just tie that off. And all you have to do is tie it once. You can tie it in a knot if you want, but it's not really necessary. So you've got yourself kind of a makeshift bow, but it's got a lot of layers, which I like. So then you can separate and play with the layers a little bit. I think I might have to tie it twice. It's getting loose as I play with it here. So I'll tie it twice so it's in a knot. And then I'm going to attach that with whatever's handy. I've got some glue dots, as it turns out, which is what this would be my first choice. I'm going to grab a couple of glue dots on the back of that, since this is kind of a hefty little bow. And then I'm just going to put that, I'm going to flip it. Put that right down here on the corner at an angle. And then I am going to leave 4 ends showing. So even the ones I tied, I'm just going to leave it like that. So this is called spotlighting. So it highlights one section of your stamp. Here was the technique card that we did when we made, when we did the technique years ago. This one has been a while, I think. And spotlighting, this is how I explained it in my instructions. Stamp the image onto the cardstock and again onto an extra piece of cardstock. See, I changed it up a little bit, and I'll tell you how. Out of the extra piece, use a square or circle from the layering framelits to cut out a portion of the image. This will become the spotlight. Color it and mount it on a colored mat cut out of the next largest size square or circle die. Mount this, lining it up with the stamped image on the card. I did the same thing, except when I did it, I didn't stamp it twice. I just cut it out of the original image. I hope that makes sense. So here was the card that we made. So this is what we do at Techniques class. We do a technique and showcase it on the technique card. And then we make a full-size card that we can send, or I just put it in the same clear envelope with my instructions. And that makes it really easy. So there we go. Now you have 2 great ideas using the spotlighting, and you had 2 great ideas last week using the reverse spotlighting. So, gosh, it's been so much fun to stamp with you today. Thank you for being here.